him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Kirsty and I use she, her pronouns, and welcome to Virtual Swansea Zine Fest 2021.
Yeah! So last year, the pandemic happened, if you knew. So we decided to go and create a virtual Swansea Zine Fest for the first time. We never thought that this time, a year later, we'd be doing another virtual Zine Fest. But you know what? We're running with it. We're loving it. We're learning new skills. And, it's great to have a virtual audience. So we've got an amazing programme this year. So many excellent videos that have come in, really varied, interesting topics. We've got alternative zine bindings, we've got alternative zine printing, we've got zine libraries, talking about, how to build and do zine library stuff.
You're excited for that one, aren't you?
I am.
I'm library dog.
I'm an organisational nerd. And yeah, zine reviews and just like so much cool stuff. So, stay tuned for all that.
We've also got our zine reading section later on in the day, and we've got two kind of extra events. So at lunchtime from 1 until 2, we have a zine quiz with Quizogeny, which I'm really excited about. So it's all about zines and DIY publishing, and they assure us that even if you feel like you don't know very much, you'll probably find out that you know more, which we're hoping for, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm worried I'm not going to know any answers, but I'm really looking forward to it. And we also are doing a 24-hour zine challenge that anyone is welcome to come and join in with us with. So that's starting at 5:45 tonight, and we'll run until 5:45 tomorrow night. So the Eventbrite links for both of those have closed now, but if you are interested in coming along, just send us a message on our Facebook page, Swansea Zine Fest Facebook page, or email us swanseazinefest@gmail.com, and we will get you the details so you can get involved.
Yeah, amazing. I'm really excited for both of those. I haven't done a 24-hour zine in a while, so this is going to be great.
And chaotic.
And chaotic. It's always chaotic. So, yeah, welcome to the Zine Fest. Hope you have a really good day and enjoy it. And, yeah, have a good one.
Quizogeny first Swansea, and we'd love you to come along at lunchtime and join us. We've got 5 rounds of questions, all about zines and DIY publishing, including a picture round, multiple choice. So whether you've got a PhD in zines or you don't know your risograph from your Riot Girl, you'll be able to join in and guess and hopefully have some fun at lunchtime. We'll be giving away lots of copies of Quizogeny zine as prizes. So come along at 1 o'clock. Here's the details about how to get the link, and we'll see you on Zoom.
This short video what choose your book 80s and 90s. Branching narrative is a story where you, the reader, get to choose what happens by making decisions as you read. Here's an example of a choose your own adventure zine I made previously, Cave of Dream, an 8-page zine. I'm going to quickly show you how to fold an 8-page zine. Skip to 2 minutes in if you already know how to make one. You'll need a single sheet of paper, scissors, and a pen. Feel free to pause and go get those to make your zine. Start by laying your paper flat and fold it so the long sides meet, making sure to crease the fold well. Now unfold your paper and fold the other way so the short sides meet, again creasing well. Unfold again, flip your paper over, then fold the short sides into the middle of the page. Making good creases will help later on when you want to fold up your zine. Now you will have folded your page into 8, and you should have a kind of W shape like this. Take your scissors, and with the page folded up, cut down from the middle halfway into the paper. The final step I like to call the magic part. Holding either side of the cut, push the sides in so the cut opens and fold your pages round. Now you have an 8-page zine ready to fill with your story. So, where to start with writing our Choose Your Own Adventure story? Well, I often start with the title. If I'm stuck for inspiration, I look around and see what grabs my attention. Like a banana! I'm going to write an example zine called Banana Phone, about a mysterious banana-shaped phone the reader comes across. Now that I have my title and an idea of the story of my zine, I'm going to write the first choice for the reader. Do you pick up the banana phone? If you pick up the phone, turn to page 2. If you ignore it, turn to page 7. This is how the reader is going to make all their choices in the zine, but we'll need to let them know which page is which. Let's number the pages quickly before we continue writing our story. Pages 1 through 8. You can have fun with your page numbering, maybe use page names or symbols instead. Now that we have numbered our pages, we need to think about what choices the reader will make and where they might end up. Let's turn to the back of the zine and add an ending we can work towards as we write. You eat the banana phone. I'll try to make it really clear to the reader when they've reached an ending, so they know the story's ended. Your story can have multiple endings, as well as loops where the reader returns to a previous page. Let's keep writing. Our first choice asks the reader to turn to one of 2 pages, so let's see what happens when they pick up the phone. That choice leads the reader to page 2, so I'm going to continue the story there. We'll have a mysterious stranger on the banana phone answer when they pick up. The voice asks if the reader will do as they ask, or else they'll be turned into a banana. The reader can then choose to agree to do as they ask or refuse by turning to pages 4 and 5. I usually improvise as I go, but you can plot out the structure of your story before you fill out the pages if you'd like. I'm going to fill out some of the other pages as the reader makes different choices in the story. It's a lot of fun to play with simple choices and have surprises hidden among the pages. I've added the pages for if you refuse to do as the voice on the phone asks. On page 6, the reader is refused, and their fingers begin to tingle as they turn into bananas. I build the suspense by having the reader turn to page 3 without making a choice. On page 3, the reader finds out they've turned into a banana. The end. That's our second ending, along with the you eat the banana ending. So, we're nearly finished with the story. What's left to write? I usually flick through the zine after each page to make sure I connect to all the pages. Flicking through now, I can see page 7 is empty. So what happens if you ignore the banana phone? I'm going to have time skip forward to night, when they're dreaming of the phone. The reader must turn back to page 2, because they pick up the phone in their dream. Using little loops like this is a nice way to have lots of choices in such a tiny zine, without too many endings. The story of the banana phone is now finished, and we filled all 8 of the pages in our little zine. I hope this gives you an idea of how to make a simple choose-your-own-adventure zine. I'm going to add some drawings to my zine to bring it to life and add to the silliness. Now I've illustrated my zine, let's play through. So I'm going to ignore the phone to start with. I turn to page 7, where I dream of the banana phone, and can't help but pick it up. Back to page 2. Now I hear a mysterious voice on the other end asking me to do something. I'm going to refuse and see what happens. They tell me, wrong decision, and the line goes dead. Turn to page 6, building suspense. My fingers are turning into bananas, oh dear. More suspense, turn to page 3. I am a banana. The end. Well, now I want to know what happens if I agree, so I turn to page 4. Wise choice, they say. Will I do as they ask? Yes. I eat the banana. Oh dear, a banana phone. I better pick it up. That was a lot of fun. I hope you have lots of ideas for your own story.
Hello, my name is Polly Bates and I'm the founder and curator of Artists Responding To. Artists Responding To is a fine art, creative and literary zine where we use creative depictions to tackle paramount news and world happenings that we feel aren't quite getting the attention they deserve, creating a space for activism but also a way of spreading information about issues and movements that our artists and writers are passionate about. I started Artists Responding To back in August 2020, sort of as a response to art galleries and exhibitions being cancelled and closed, mostly due to COVID-19 pandemic. I wanted to create a way where art was still accessible and a sort of digitized version of it so that I could create opportunities for artists like myself who had been affected from the pandemic. Now I'm just going to read you a little bit from my curator's comment from issue 1, just to sort of give you a bit of an idea of how we use our zines for a political, environmental and social platform. Artistic expression can help us to realise and reveal flaws in our society, whilst also allowing us to reinvent ways of living and imagine a future without those flaws. As an artist myself, I've experienced firsthand the power creative expression can have in altering perceptions of others, as well as on a personal level. Creativity can be a release, and whether that's coming to terms with your worries or celebrating a passion, it can help us to understand. Artists Responding To approaches paramount news and world happenings through the eyes of creatives, artists and writers, providing a space for critical discussion and reflection, whilst also creating opportunities for talented individuals to share and celebrate their work. Zine culture and the history of zines has always been quite political, I think, and small press publications are a great way of expressing yourself and sharing your thoughts and opinions, and hoping that someone will pick it up and agree or disagree. It's just a great way to start a conversation, really. Artists Responding To create signs that are both digital and in print, so you have the option to read it online, or we charge $6.99 for our little zines, and they're A5 and they range from 40 pages to 60 pages. Each zine has around 25 to 30 international artists and writers involved, and the diversity of their responses are just incredible. You pick it up and you learn something new every time. So I'm just going to take you through issue 4 of our zine, just to sort of show you the diversity in artworks that are involved and the topics that are addressed. Start from the beginning. So this piece by Claire is a mixed media textile artwork that addresses wildfires around the world. This piece by Jacob Talbot called Anthropocene addresses human created pollution and climate change effects. This was a photography series paired with a poem. This piece by Harriet Parr looks at the PPE left from COVID-19 pandemic and the effects that this is having onto the environment. This piece by Bakari addresses racism in America and Black Lives Matter movement. This piece by Lydia looks at, it's kind of a funny approach to Donald Trump and the sexism and sexist jokes he has, sexual harassment, pretty endless with that guy. This photography series by Tony Bowen documents the local pathways of Brighton and the floor markings left over from the pandemic. And this piece from Catherine looks at human connection to architecture and the effects and, I guess, negatives of constantly erecting skyscrapers. Sorry about a little technical hitch there, but that's what happens when everything's virtual nowadays. So lastly, this one reflects on animal farming and the neglect and damage it causes to animals. So that was just a few selected viewpoints and artworks from issue 4. I think issue 4 had 27 artists involved, so really just touches on what is involved in our zines. We're really proud that our zines discuss and reflect on so many different topics, and just the diversity in artworks is incredible, just for an aesthetic point as well. So yeah, we're really happy with how our zines operate and how they can spread awareness for international topics of any political, social or environmental issue. We hope that our zines can teach our audience something new every month and widen our knowledge of international issues and movements, really. So here's issue 1, issue 2. Oh, that's issue 4. Issue 3. Issue 4. Issue 5. Issue 6, which was our special 6-month anniversary issue. Issue 7. And then issue 8 comes out on the 25th of April. So that's just a short little introduction into how we use our zines at Artists Responding to reflect on environmental, social and political issues. We hope you have got a taste for what we do from this, and if you want to find out more about our zines or other projects that we create or are involved in, please visit our Instagram at artistresponding2 or visit our website www.artistresponding2.co.uk. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of Swansea Zine Fest. Bye.
Hi, I'm Lilith and I co-founded Edinburgh Zine Library in 2017 and have been helping to run it ever since.
Hello, I am Oliver. My role at Edinburgh Zine Library as a secretary involves being responsible a bit for the very large number of inbox unread emails in our inbox. I help out with workshops, delivering them and facilitating them, and cataloguing our ever gigantic donated zine pile to add to our library. The cataloguing process is quite difficult and it's DIY as are zines, so we're always working on cataloguing.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I helped to co-found the Zine Library with my partner Lilith. At the moment, I'm taking a bit of a break from doing a lot of the Zine Library stuff, but when I am doing it, I do a lot of the website work, help with cataloguing, help with events, especially in person, and just generally sort of dip my hand into anything.
Edinburgh Zine Library is an archive and a reference library of self-published material currently housed at the Art and Design Library in Edinburgh Central Library. We aim to preserve and increase access to zines from Edinburgh and around the world, as well as promoting zines, zine making, DIY culture, and DIY culture through workshops and other events. We have a collection of donated zines based in our very fancy and legendary filing cabinet.
Cataloguing has been an ongoing learning process for us because we aren't part of the Central Library's catalogue. We keep our zines in these plastic dockets and have an additional backing sheet with Creative Commons, content notes and info about the zine on it.
I got involved in zines in 2017 when a friend at the now well-established Drawn Poorly zine in Manchester got in touch with me as they were hoping to create some zines to raise money for a Manchester period poverty charity called Every Month Manchester. I made my first zine about endometriosis and having endometriosis as a trans man, and it was called Men Do Bleed Too, with the endo bit in there. And it tells my story of accessing gendered spaces in just for reproductive healthcare, and the difficulties that brings being a man.
The zine library really came about after Abby and I went to Weirdo Zine Fest in London, and we felt really inspired. So we did a proposal to the Central Library, and we just asked. Bronwyn Brown, who was an outreach librarian there, has been super supportive of the Zine Library project so far. I think there's something that feels really powerful about being in the Central Library and representing or like bringing voices to the library that wouldn't otherwise have a home there.
So I think zine libraries are important because they offer a sort of non-commercial space for zine makers and for readers of zines as well. The great thing about the zine library is it does create this hub for people who are like-minded to come together to read zines and to get to know each other and to, you know, chat.
The best thing for me about EZL is the community around it. I love and am so grateful for the zines that have arrived from all over the world, and I always keep the notes that people enclose with them, which feel really personal and really intimate.
So why are zines important? Well, they're important in allowing marginalised communities to tell their own stories without barriers or oppressions that they might experience from mainstream methods of vocalising experiences. Having ways to share experiences allows for people to feel and be seen, and zines offer this tangible way of telling a story and a low-cost way to share that message, or even just share pictures of your favourite cat. Cat's quite a popular zine topic, and it means you don't have to interact through platforms that might not have your best interests at heart, or might be selling your information to advertise to you. Zines don't do that.
There's a growing and rad community of zine libraries and librarians in Scotland, Wales, England and Ireland, and across the rest of the world, sharing knowledge and resources, and of course a love of zines.
During lockdown, we've been spending a lot of time on Zoom and on WhatsApp, just chatting and trying to look after ourselves. But we have done some really great stuff. We did a Zine in a Day event, which was great, and a zine came out of it as well.
It feels pretty cool that the zine library has grown so much in the past 3+ years, and I think I wouldn't have got through lockdown without them. I can't wait to keep growing and developing together.
So I'm really looking forward, this is such a small thing, but to painting the filing cabinet when we get back into the library. We were really inspired by Sittingbourne Zine Library's yellow filing cabinet, and I'm super jealous, and I want it to be like all different colours.
Hello, I'm Megan Dunford, Head Librarian of the Just In Case Zine Library.
And I'm Sally Lemsford, also Head Librarian of the Just In Case Zine Library.
Okay, so before we start the workshop today, this is what you need to have ready. Some thick card or paper as a base, selection of magazines that you're happy to cut up, some scissors, some tape or glue, and some drawing materials, pens or pencils. Brilliant. Okay. So this workshop has come about because we took part in an Instagram residency with After Illusion. We responded to each other's images with restricted materials, deliberately trying to misinterpret each other's images in our responses. We found this a really interesting process. It allowed us to think about how people put their own meaning onto things. We have deliberately created this brief activity, especially for Swansea Zine Fest, which also coincides with World Collage Day for you to do at home. At the end, we'll invite you to share your collages on Instagram and tag us at Just In Case Zine Library. If you'd like to be part of our collaborative collage zine, we will make this available on issue to celebrate the event, and you can email your images to us at justincaseZine@gmail.com. Okay, so we have chosen the following words for you to keep in mind whilst you're making your collage. Respond, misinterpret, process. Meaning, deliberately, coincides. And share, collaborative. Okay, so we've picked a selection of words. So for the first activity, we'd like you to find an image or some images that you like in your magazines, okay? And whilst you're looking through, we want you to think about the 3 words: respond, misinterpret, and process. Okay, and we are going to also make along with you.
As well as scissors, I like tearing because you get nice edges and it's a bit more random.
That's a good idea, actually. When you don't have a lot of time to make a collage, it's quite nice to tear.
I've also chosen a non-square piece of card to work on. You don't have to start with a square.
The problem that I find doing collage, I don't know about you, Sally, is I'm too fussy with images, and I need to get good at picking images nice and quickly.
I think the speed is quite important.
Mm.
And go with it. Don't overthink it. So you're responding, and if it's not quite what you wanted, misinterpret is fine. So I put a couple of images. Have you got yours images, Meg?
Yep, I've got mine ready.
Those are images that I liked.
Okay, I'm just gluing mine down. Okay, I've gone for these 2.
Okay, so that's ours to start with.
Okay, and then now we want you to feature the words respond, misinterpret, and process somewhere on this page. Okay, and you can do that however you like. Okay, I've added my words. Okay, this is my one.
And that's my one.
Brilliant, okay. Now, we want you to, on the same piece of paper, use your magazines to find an image that you don't like or some images that you don't like. And I want you to think about the words meaning, deliberately, and coincides whilst you're doing this. Images you don't like.
find this much harder, actually.
Me too. I was just going to say that, actually. It's a bit... Because do you think that, you know, your eye is deliberately drawn to things that you like?
I think they are.
Well, you can deliberately choose to pick something you don't like.
And you don't have to stay within the outline of your base paper or card. Go over the edge.
Might be quite nice to have things coming off. I don't know why, but I'm kind of going for images of people, which is really interesting, and I don't normally do that. I know. Now, technically, if I have some text, you know, magazine text, is that an image or is it text?
It depends how you're using it. If you're using it as the shape,
yeah, okay.
then I think that's fine. I'm going with the shape of the tearing rather than the image.
So it's kind of okay. So I'm tearing and cutting, a combination depending on the image, but then obviously how the collage ends up depends on how I feel like they go on the page. I made some collages last weekend actually, and I did some what I like to think of like no-think collages. So I just picked up images and stuck them down.
I think this is a lot of no-think. We haven't got time to think. I like this speed.
It is, but but for me, in my head, I'm going through the words as well.
Oh, I've got to put the words on.
Right, okay, so we need to put the words on. Meaning, deliberately, and coincides. I think I'm done. I'm intrigued by yours, Sally. That looks looks brilliant.
Yeah,
I think you've been bolder.
I think it requires bold. I'm stuck in that. I'm not quite there yet. Have I got a bit longer?
Oh, I think we can have another minute.
Because there's bits that I don't think are fitting in, so I need to obliterate. It's an obliteration.
Need to do some serious editing down. Obliterating sounds drastic. Oh, actually, I quite like this. That could work. Okay, are we ready?
Right, okay.
Oh, I don't want to block off any of my words. Okay, let's have a look.
Wait a minute, I've noticed something. Right. Oh.
It is interesting thinking about the words as you're making, actually. And, you know, obviously that's kind of what came out of the residency for us, wasn't it? This idea that people can put their own meaning onto words. And I find that fascinating, especially when you juxtapose it with images.
Yes. So there's bits of this that I really am happy with, and there's bits that I think, oh, I'm uncomfortable with that, but I'm going with it.
It might be, yeah, I was just thinking it might be interesting to do a collage where you select words. You almost pick images and words out together, like a random pick, and put them together. Anyway, okay, I'm holding up my page now.
Right.
Oh, yours is interesting.
Wow.
Do you want to put yours a bit closer? Let me see. That's it. Quite like the graphic nature of yours.
Yeah, I really liked this bit. And this was my image that I didn't like, but I liked the shape.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And then having chosen a green background, I didn't like the bottom. So I've done something with the bottom there.
So we're going to share these on our Just In Case Instagram, Just In Case Zine Library Instagram. So when you've made your collage page, take a picture, upload it to your Instagram and tag us, Just In Case Zine Library. And then if you would like to be in our digital collaborative zine, we're going to collate all of the images that you send. You can email us, justincaseZine@gmail.com, and then we will publish it on Issue. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
polarising, partisan and prejudice. I'm of course talking about the current state of the UK's mainstream media. With 90% of the UK's national newspaper market owned by just 3 companies, including of course the Murdoch-owned News UK, which also dominate 80% of online press readership, can we really say that we have access to a free and independent press? Same goes for social media. 3 of the top 5 social media sites used to access new KUs are in fact owned by Facebook, of which 48% of their stories stem from, you guessed it, traditional press outlets, the majority of which are owned by Tory donor billionaire tycoons such as Murdoch, Desmond and Rothermere. As shown by the findings of the Leveson inquiry, these owners have full control over what gets published, whether that be the political agenda they want to push or the companies to which they want to pander. Because after all, 50% of their total income comes from corporate advertising. Not only does excessive advertising facilitate a potentially dangerous site for the spread of fake news, but if the press can't survive without it, how can we expect them to provide truly honest critiques of such capitalist structures? How can we put our trust in a billionaire-owned, politically biased, corporate-censored press? Commenting on this elitist corruption in a series of controversial tweets, Guardian journalist Owen Jones likened the British media to a cult full of people who made it based on personal background and/or connections rather than merit. This accusation of exclusivity is backed up by several statistics showing the press to be dominated by white, privately educated men. Nearly half of UK journalists graduated with an Oxbridge degree, compared with less than 1% of the UK's entire population. 44% of them were also privately educated, compared with 93% of the UK's population who were state school educated. Getting into journalism isn't an easy ride as it is. Most employers will ask for proof of already published work, or experience in journalism through having completed an exclusive internship, which simply aren't accessible to those who don't have the time or the money to do such work unpaid. So if these opportunities are only meant for the most privileged in society, how can we expect the media to represent the rest of us and our interests? Well, there is a great selection of alternative media out there. Supporting and submitting content to independent zines really is the best way to fight back against this exclusive, elitist, unrepresentative media. By making your own zines, you get the opportunity to create your own narratives and share them with whoever you want, regardless of what some publisher, politician, corporate sponsor, or whoever thinks. Unless, of course, you want to discuss horror and shock said parties, in which case go ahead. For me, the best thing about zines is that they don't need to follow any strict rules or adhere to any specific guidelines. You can literally do whatever you want and it will still be a valid, legitimate, independent zine. I mean, allow me a Blue Peter moment now, but here's one I made earlier. It's a fanzine about lobsters, because I love lobsters, and it's got a poem, it's got a collage with pictures of Colin Farrell's face, it's got a playlist, and it's just a mix of different things which you wouldn't necessarily get in any mainstream press. So if you want to enjoy original, current content, almost definitely guilt-free, then stop sharing misleading news articles, don't do that BuzzFeed quiz, and instead pick up a zine.
Hi there, wonderful folks. My name's Chloe and operating on our show for a special today. It's first but exciting. We're going to turn 1 on the 20th of May and I'm super excited. So we're going to be making a mini zine together to celebrate our first birthday. You can make a mini zine for any special occasion that you'd like, but today we're going to be focusing on our birthday.
Hi there, I'm Katie Mays, one of the co-founders of Coin Operated Press. I launched the company in May 2020 with Chloe Henderson.
First things first, you're going to get your materials together. The very basics of what you'll need is a piece of paper. You will need a whole host of drawing materials, whatever materials you've got to hand, and a pair of scissors. And that's it, that's the essentials of what you need. Extras can include some printed out images, can be really useful. We've got some fancy scrap paper. Stickers are a great way to add some interest to your zines. I'm also using some birthday cards from my last birthday and gonna cut up some of the images from these. These can be a really good way to add some themed elements to your occasion zines. Things like washi tapes are fantastic. We've also got our double-sided sticky tape, which I'd highly recommend. It's really good for sticking things in. And of course some PVA is also a bit of an essential for when you're sticking things. So that's everything that we've got today, and you can add basically anything that you want. Anything that you've got lying around your house you can use to make your zine. So let me clear up this mess and we'll get started.
We launched the company during the very beginning of lockdown in Scotland, and thank you to everyone for all of your support. We've managed to produce and publish 9 collaborative zines and 2 poetry collections in the last year alone.
So to start with, you're going to want your piece of paper and your scissors, and we're going to fold our mini zine together. So I'll do it in real time so you can see all the steps. You want to take your piece of paper and fold it once along the long side. Now this is an optional extra, you don't need to do this, but if you have a bone folder or something like a Sharpie is perfect for this as well. If you want to get a good crease and a nice sharp fold, you can use that just to smooth along the edge of your folds, but you really don't need to do that stuff, it's just a little extra. Then we're going to unfold our piece of paper again so it's flat, and we're going to fold it along the width way this time, again all the way to the edge, as straight as you can, but it doesn't really matter. And again, I'm going to take my Sharpie and just get a nice crisp line. We're going to unfold it once more, and then we're going to flip our paper over to the other side. Then we're going to take our width and fold it to the middle line. And we're going to be doing this on both sides, trying to get it as central as possible. And once more taking our Sharpie, smoothing out the crease. I just like to unfold it again because it makes it easier to see the middle line. Then we'll fold this into the middle line once more. And by the time you're finished these folds, you should have something that looks like this. So you can see all 8 sections of the zine starting to come together now. And then we want to fold it in half once more, so it looks like that. And this is where you're going to get your scissors, and we're going to make our cut. So you're going to be cutting along this line here, and you're going to cut to the line, so only to this point, not all the way through, just to this point. Cutting it right to the point. Then if you take your bit of paper like this, fold it round, and you'll have your little diamond, star, mouth, whatever you want to call it in the middle. You want to flatten that so it becomes like a cross, like so. And you're basically just going to flatten it, and that's your little book. You want to flatten it right out, and you can use your Sharpie again to fold down all the creases, get it really flat, and that's that. You've got your little 8-page zine.
Some of those zines include Hello Zine, our relationships zine. Quarantine was our very first zine that we launched with, and we followed that up this year with Vaccine.
So for my first page, page number 1, I'm going to be using some collage techniques to just introduce the topic of my zine. I really like this text on this card, and I like the holographic shininess of it as well. So I'm going to use that as my main element. And I've also printed out some images. I'm going to use our coin operated press logo on this. This is a good way to cut something to size without having to measure everything. You grab yourself a ruler and you can tear along the ruler to the edge where you need. And there we have it. Piece of paper that fits perfectly onto our little page and has a nice textured effect to it. And that's the first page finished. Ta-da! Happy birthday, coin operated press indeed.
We have a bunch of stickers, badges, plectrums, all sorts of goodies all available in the coin op shop, and the link will be somewhere on this page for you to check out.
So I have these little photographs of myself and Katie. This is the first ever zine fair that we did. Before we were ever coin operated press, we did it together just for fun, and it was from here that sparked our love of zines, and we knew that we wanted to start this together. And then this was taken during the pandemic when we were able to meet in person, and we had our first ever coin operated press meeting in person instead of just on Skype. So this is us, I can't remember exactly when it was, but this is basically now. So I want to have a little bit that says like from then to now, so you can see the progression from our starting days to what we're doing now. And I've got these little stamps which I've never actually used, and I wanted to use these to do the lettering, if I can even get them out. The pink might be a little bit too pale, but let's test it and see. I'm going to be using stamps in all of my work from now on. How cool do they look? I really need to buy more letter stamps like this because they're really pretty and I love the effect. And don't forget when you're finished using your stamps to clean them off. That is the thing that I always used to forget, and I always used to ruin stamps that way. So I'm going to go away and clean these just now, and then we'll move on to the next pages.
A couple of months ago we also set up a Discord community, and I'm really proud and so thrilled with the community that we're growing over there. We have weekly or bi-weekly craft clubs going on over there, which are just little informal events where we get together, have a cup of tea, have a chat, and just work on whatever you're working on independently, whether that's a mini zine, knitting, painting, whatever you can put your imagination to.
This is where I'm going to put in the message portion of my zine. So it's going to be like a traditional greeting card where there is a little message inside. And I'm going to use this photo of myself and Katie that we took during lockdown when we went to visit the beach together. And I was going to pop one of our coin operated press bubble mailers as the sort of background in between the picture. So just going to rip it right down the middle. Then have one on each side with the mailer bag in between, and then maybe a little cog in between us, and then down the bottom here I'm gonna put in some nice textured papers and gonna write a little message. So I drafted up this little message and I'm just gonna freehand it in with lettering like I would in an actual birthday card, as I think that might be a nice hark back to an actual greetings card. There we go, there's my little message to coin operated press. Ta-da!
We're really looking forward to being able to host workshops in real life, in person, in the not too distant future hopefully. So keep your eye out on our social media and website for more information about that.
I printed out all of the covers of our coin operated press zines, and I thought this would be a really good reflection of everything that we've done so far. Basically a year of zines, so it's perfect for our first birthday to be able to look back at this. But for your own zines, depending on what occasion you're celebrating, you could put in a little photo montage like this. This would be a really cool page to do some collage photographs. Maybe for an anniversary you could print out a bunch of pictures of you and your partner from your first year together, or whatever anniversary you're celebrating, and this would be a good little collage montage of that. Or perhaps it's your friend's birthday and you want to print out all of your favourite pictures of you and your friend and stick them in like that. Or maybe it's for Christmas and you could print out a bunch of holiday photos of your family. And with the vaccine, that's the final page done.
So as we're nearing our first birthday, we're really looking forward to seeing whatever the future holds, looking forward to doing in-person zine fairs and workshops and meeting all of you lovely people, and we're really excited to be collaborating with musicians and poets and just seeing where this thing takes us.
And there we have it, our finished zine. Ta-da! And that's it, that's our little coin operated press birthday zine. Happy birthday! Yay!
Thank you for checking out our table at Swansea Zine Fest, and we can't wait to see you in person in the very near future. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a mini zine for a special occasion, and I hope you enjoyed learning all about coin operated press. Do be sure to check out our virtual table at Swansea Zine Fest and check out all the awesome zines that we've got on offer. I hope you enjoy the fest, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!
I'm one of chaos, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about perzines today, specifically some like structures and techniques you can use for making perzines. I talked about, for those of you who were at Zine Fest last year, talked about that I had quite like a stressful journey with getting started in perzines, because I didn't know where to start, didn't think I was interesting enough. The realization was I don't have to be interesting, which is a damn relief. But kind of in that time, 2014, I made my first perzine, and I've made around 23 since then. But what's worked for me in terms of motivating myself to make my perzines is really varied. And I've definitely been really motivated by different structures and formats that have like kept me on track. Particularly, I'll talk about some writing that I've done during the pandemic, which has not been very much, but kind of throughout with like fitting zine writing into being a human, with other things to do. So yeah, I'm just going to run you through some different zines that I've made, and tell you a little bit how they came about. They've kind of got different formats and stuff. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the newest perzine I've made, which I made in June last year. It's called Tapes, and it's a 30-day song challenge zine. So this, I got mine from, I think it was originally from Instagram, you know, one of those like, you know, tell us about a song that makes you happy, or a song that, you know, reminds you of something that I've forgotten. There you go. A song you'd sing as a duet with someone on karaoke is one of them. So like loads of different things. So I just did an entry every single day. So in June last year, just each day I looked up what there was, and then wrote that piece, and then eventually put them all together, which gave me a sense of doing something, and like the structure that I needed. There was no way, if left to my own devices, I would have got a perzine done in June last year. I really wanted to. I had that first kind of burst of pandemic productivity, that then like slowly deflated, and yeah, like, you know, along with the excitement of Tiger King. So yeah, this was really good. But I mean, it could be anything. There's all sorts of challenges out there on the internet, and just finding one that you can use for zine purposes is a good shout, I think. The other one I wanted to talk about is Forever Incomplete 7, which was a list issue. So it's a perzine made entirely from lists. I also did this one as a daily challenge because it really is something that suits my style of producing things. But you wouldn't need to. I've seen people who've done list zines, you know, that are just regular perzines. And what I liked about this was that some days the lists are quite long, and quite meaningful. So I've got like, you know, the day that was my work anniversary, you know, things that I love about my job, you know, that's pretty meaningful. But then there's also things like annoying things in public toilets, that I wish weren't a thing. And, you know, and some things took me, you know, maybe an hour to do, and some things took 10 minutes. And that was a good, that really worked and fit in for me with that. So there's that one. It's good. I really enjoy writing lists. Like they're a zine staple anyway, so I feel like a whole zine of lists is great. The next thing I'm going to talk about is my alphabet zine. So this is writing a piece that corresponds to every letter of the alphabet. So I have like A is for anger, and so on and so forth. So writing about 26 different things. I wanted to write an alphabet zine for a really, really long time, and then actually found pulling it off quite challenging, because there was because it is a lot of writing, but it wouldn't need to be. You could do something quite a bit shorter than I did. What I enjoyed was the kind of mental gymnastics of finding something that fit, particularly when I found, when I'd done a piece of writing that I really liked, and I'm like, where does this fit in? How do I make this, what letter am I missing? And the weird letters really threw me, like N really threw me. It took me ages. But it's nice, and it's kind of easy to keep you on track. So actually, if you're writing that and then you want to come back to it later and think like, oh, okay, right, I don't have anything for S. What's S going to be? Maybe I'll do that today. And it's kind of easy to keep track of. Yeah, I'm really proud of mine. It's one of my favourite zines that I've made. So next I'm going to talk about kind of diary entry, writing about a trip kind of thing. So this is Forever Incomplete 4, when I went to stay with my girlfriend at the time for the first time. So I spent 10 days in the city where she lived, where I'd never been before, and then through that I wrote an entry every day, like just a little bit about what we did each day, but also things like lots of lists, so what we watched on TV, like delicious foods that I tried for the first time. I've just opened it up to a page that just says a 7-layer burrito, and I'm like, oh god, that sounds good. Wish I was eating that now. Yeah, so kind of different things to do with that trip, which is like a really nice way to remember the trip, but also to it's like a good focus. You can write about anything within the context of this kind of limited thing. So you kind of, for me, I found that I didn't get overwhelmed by like, oh, what am I going to write about? It's like, well, today, so you've got the structure of the diary entries, and it's like, what other things have struck you? What have been interesting? Is that a list? Is that, is that a short piece about how you thought that America would be really similar to the UK, and actually it's quite stressfully different, for example. So that was one that I did there. And the last one, but prob's my favourite, in terms of a structure to get shit done, is 24-hour zine. So I've made 3 24-hour zines, I think. We'll be making a 4th this afternoon. And 24-hour zines are great for just letting shit happen to you. So I'm very good, I'm very completionist. Things like I respond very well to a challenge in that sense. So all a 24-hour zine is literally you start at a particular time on one day, finish at the same time the next day, and in that time you complete a full zine, whatever it's supposed to be a challenge for an individual, so whatever makes that a challenge for you. And I really like writing zines that way. I find I get out a lot of stuff that maybe I've wanted to write about, but I've been really worried about it needing to be a certain way or not being quite right. And sometimes I can find I'll just write about something that it will come quite easily. And I think it also really, zines are great for being able to be imperfect in the first place, but I feel like a 24-hour zine really gives you license to just do what's right, what's right for you, rather than worrying about like it being perfect, and being able to appreciate it for what it is. So we'll be doing 24-hour zines as a Swansea Zine Fest event later. We'll be meeting on Zoom 3 times over the course of 24 hours. The first time is at 5:30 today. So if you haven't already signed up, we'll pop the link in the comments. You can join us for that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone makes. Hopefully get a nice screenshot of everyone's work together. Yeah, so that's a whistle-stop tour of some things that I've done. Hopefully, and some ways that you can use that in your own work. And yes, enjoy. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.
Everyone, my name is I make stuff. Are doodles. These I'm going to show you some doodles that I've done recently. These were just off the top of the stack of doodles, because when you doodle a lot, you get a big stack of doodles. So there was a stack, and I just took off some that I liked. Anyway. This is a little video for Swansea Zine Fest. And I'm going to try and just do it in a take and just do some doodling so people can see what it's all about. I know that a lot of people do, I love zine culture, and I know a lot of people do a lot of like handcrafted design to their zines, and doodling can be something that is quite intimidating when you first see some other people's stuff. But yeah, anyway, I've got a few little tips. The first one is to just start. So I started doodling when a few years back I was having some mental health stuff. I often have mental health stuff, and it was just a really good way of kind of disconnecting in the workplace, doing something mindful. So that's why I started, and I wasn't really planning on really sharing it at all. And then people started asking me about it, and then a few people asked me for my doodles, as in, can I have one of those please? And I was a bit like, yeah, okay. Anyway, so I started sharing them online, and that's been quite nice. But yeah, first tip is just start. I wasn't planning on this shape. I don't know where the shape comes from. I often draw wiggly lines like this, but I didn't think about what I wanted to draw beforehand. I literally just had a space I wanted to fill, so decided, let's do that then. Great. My second tip is to always have something that you can have to hand in your mind that you can draw if you just don't know what to draw anything else. The thing that I always draw if I don't know what to draw is the toast that died and went to heaven. Here is the toast. Obviously the toast has wings. And don't be fooled that it looks like an angel. This toast did some terrible things in its past, but that doesn't matter, because if there is a heaven, everyone's going. Because it would be a shit heaven if not. Anyway, so yeah, have some things up your sleeve that you can always just pull out and go, I don't know what to draw. Sometimes your brain just needs to disconnect, and you need to be able to draw something that you're not thinking about. I do a lot of these little kind of wing shapes. That's another thing I always draw. Sometimes just drawing some circles can be really nice. Trying to make them as round as possible, but varied in size. Can be both challenging and nice, and kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say like mindful, because this isn't. I don't know. Is this mindful or mindless? I don't really know. Anyway, tip number 2. I've only really got 2 tips. I said I had some tips. Oh no, hang on. Just start. That was a thing, and then draw stuff that you like. That have some things that you just know how to draw, that you can just draw anywhere at any time. Yeah, that was number 2. Tip number 3 that is a thing that I like, but isn't something that a lot of people, some people might be into it, is just line quality. Now, I am all about making my lines as even and decisive as possible, and this is a shit example because I'm using a Sharpie that's starting to dry out, as you can see some places, but I'm always trying to make my lines like slowly and purposefully, as opposed to, you know, some people will be sketching in like this, and some people kind of not really sure, or some people, like, you know, really do kind of just go for the whole sketching thing. Now, that's not my bag. I enjoy just making lines that are as perfect as a line as it can be for that line that I'm putting down there. And I think this helps my doodles look a bit more purposeful and a little bit less random. Because if this would all have been done sketchy, it might look like a bit of a mistake or an accident. But if I look like I know what I'm doing, then maybe I can fool people into the fact that this is some kind of art. Anyway. Great. So those were really my 3 tips. I often get questions about what I use, because I think it's a big thing for people, isn't it, in this capitalist society, is that, oh, I don't know how to do something, but maybe if I buy the stuff, then I'll be happy to, you know, I'll be able to do it magically or something. I would say that what is a good pen is any pen, and what is good paper, any paper. But then, obviously, I don't just use any paper in any pen, so that's really hypocritical of me. Has anybody seen Princess Mononoke? Yeah. Here's a misshapen Kodama. Anyway. So, what do I use? This stuff is absolutely amazing. This paper. This is Bristol board. Loads of companies make Bristol board. It's a kind of paper, not a brand. The brand I use is Canston, because it's really cheap. And you look at it and it doesn't look cheap until you realise that you get 50 sheets in your pad. It's really smooth stuff, and I really love it. I'm just going to grab some coffee. Excuse me. Pens, my favourite pen is this. This is a Kaweco Sport. It's a fountain pen. I really love using tools that I love. Today I did a demonstration with a Sharpie because accessibility is important, isn't it? You know, I want everybody to think that they can doodle with whatever they want. The other type of pen that I love is tech pens. I'm getting distracted by my own doodle. This is a tech pen. A lot of people call them isographs. They've got this little pin at the top. It's a steel point. And these make really, when I was talking about line quality, this is one I did with a tech pen. And, you know, you put the pen down, you draw, and it's, yeah, it does the line and nothing else. Do you know what I mean? There's no artifacts there. Anyway, I mean, what I had to say has kind of come to an end. But I would say, if you are doodling, just not to expect anything from it. You know, you don't have to know what you're drawing. I don't want to come across as some kind of Bob Ross, trying to wannabe. But this is your world. You can do whatever you want. That was the worst Bob Ross impression ever. Yeah, doing some little shady bits, even if you just draw nonsense, shading nonsense, which is just drawing lines only on one side of things, it just makes it look so much more purposeful. Yeah, I'd love to see your doodles if you do some doodles. On Instagram, I've got an account just for my doodles, and that is at drawing. That is actually spelled drawing, not drawing, but drawing. And on everything else, if you just search up Simeon Smith, that is me. Anyway, thank you very much to everybody behind the Swansea Zine Fest. Zines are amazing. Everybody should get involved. This has been your workshop in doodling. Please show me your doodles by tagging me in or just adding me and telling me about your doodles. I'd love to see them, and I hope it goes well for you. Cheers.
Hey guys, and thanks for watching this video. So we are going to start with our mock-up. I have our little 6-page zine here. Usually these types of zines are 8 pages, but I did 6 because I wanted to allow for a little bit larger drawings, and I wanted the square formatting instead of usually 8 zines are more of like a rectangle format. So we'll get started. This is page 1. Page 2, page 3, and then it's kind of like a flip over page 4, page 5, and page 6. So when I start with mock-ups, it just helps me get an idea of what I'm going to be drawing on each page. It's totally optional, but it just really helps me to know like where things go when I'm drawing it up. This gives me a really nice sort of visual. And you can just do this with a 8.5 by 11 piece of blank paper for your mock-up at first, so that when you unfold it, it just looks like this. And that's all you need to just have your blank piece of paper and then write out the numbers. I'm gonna fold it in half, hot dog, and then twice hamburger to make 6 squares. And then from the bottom, page 1, 2, and 3 facing the right way. Page 4, 5, and 6 are going to be upside down when we're drawing. And now that you have your mock-up all put together, we can go into Procreate and start drawing. Alright, when we first start out drawing, we want to create an 8.5 by 11 sheet on Procreate. And make sure to keep it 300 DPI so that your zine will be good quality when you print it. And to create a grid, I put on the option Drawing Assist in the top left of Procreate under the Settings section. And in Photoshop, you can also create grids, actually a lot more simple than it is in Procreate. I also want to preface this by saying you do not have to do Procreate for this. You can use any digital drawing platform that you have. You could even draw something on a piece of paper and scan it and upload it to Photoshop and then print it this way. So after I created my grid of 6 equal squares, I am just going to be drawing out my concept that I want. And the orientation looks a little wacky here because I did it incorrectly at first, but I fix it later. But you want to refer back to your mock-up for the orientation of each drawing that you're going to be doing. So these first top 3 rows are supposed to be upside down. But that is basically all. You're just going to continue to draw out your concept through each page. I like to work with a lot of different brushes and colors and a lot of layers within my drawings personally. But again, you don't even have to make it this complex. You can just do simple line drawings, or you can even upload photos that you've taken and just put them in this format. What's most important is that the squares stay as equal as possible so that when you fold it, everything will be in line. Alright, and next I am just going to send this to my printer when I've finished the drawing. And make sure to make it borderless so that your dimensions are not off when the final image prints. I recommend using like a thick paper or a cardstock to print on so your images come out super crisp and true to color. Okay, so now that we have our paper printed, we can get to folding and putting this thing together. So first I'm going to make a hot dog fold. Then I'm going to unfold it, and then I'm just going to fold along my grid lines that I made. And then we're just gonna fold in half and then find our page 1 and just scrunch it like that. And here is our finished product. So we have our page 1, page 2, page 3, and then flip over 4, 5, and 6. And it folds into a little booklet like that. Hi there and welcome to my table. It's in the fair, so hope you enjoy my table. I've got lots of zines on offer that I want you to check out. And while you're browsing my zines, I thought we could learn a little bit about how to make a mini zine together. So my name is Chloe Henderson and I'm an interdisciplinary artist from Edinburgh. One of my main skills is illustration, and I thought today would be a really great excuse to teach you how to make a mini zine to show off your illustrations. Think of a mini zine of your illustrations as like a publication that you can make yourself. It's a really good excuse to be able to show off all of the cool illustrations that you've made in a little publication form that you can easily distribute and make loads of copies of and sell to your fans and give away at zine fairs or at comic-cons and markets and all of that kind of wonderful stuff. They're really great showcases of your art and you can think of them as little portfolios. So as you might have noticed, I have a few zines on my table that look a little bit like they are portfolios of my illustrations, and I thought I'd show you some examples just now. So here's an example of one of my illustrative zines. This is the Rude Cat zine, and as you can see inside we have a lot of Rude Cat illustrations. So this is one of my mini zines that I've made to show off this little collection of Rude Cats. This is my sharks are friends, not food zine. So I illustrated some sharks and I told a little story through my illustrations. So as you can see, I've watercoloured some information about sharks and it tells all about the plight of the sharks. I did this for Shark Week and that's another one of my little illustration zines. And let's go for one last zine to show you some of my illustrations. Here's another one. This one's called Mermaid Tales, and it's a zine full of mermaid tales. It does what it says on the cover. And I did this as a little character design exercise and then put it together as a little zine. So first off, we're gonna open up a new project in Photoshop. We're gonna set it to international paper and you want basically an A4 paper size. And then I have a mini zine template, which I'm gonna drag in. Patrons, this will be available in the blog that this video is attached to, and for everybody else that's watching this, it's basically a grid of 8 sides of paper, or your 8 pages that we're going to have. And I always keep a little mini zine template to hand when I'm doing this so I can see exactly what pages I'm working on, so I will know that this is the front page, this is the back page, and it just makes it easier for me to see exactly what pages that I'm working on, so it's useful to have a little guide like this. So the first thing you want to do is decide on which collection or which theme you want your zine to be about and what illustrations that you're going to use. In this video we're assuming that you've already taken lots of photos of your illustrations and you've got them ready to use. So I've decided to go for a fan art theme. I really love drawing fan art, so this little zine is going to be a showcase of all of the fan art that I've made. So just now I'm dragging a little text box onto my first page and I'm just going to write a title. I might change this later on, it might be something completely different, but this gives me an idea of exactly what I want to do and it just gives me something to work off. So I'm titling my zine Fantastic Fan Art, and then I'm going to go into my folder of all of my illustrations and decide on some of the fan art that I want to use. So I really like this photograph that I took of my tutorial drawing after I'd finished it. It's got the little watercolour pans and some of the materials that I used for the drawing, so I've decided that this is going to become my front cover. So to do this I'm going to drag it into Photoshop and move it to where the front cover is going to be and then move it into place. And the way that I'm doing this means that my front cover will be wrapped, so I'm doing this as the front and back cover. So when it is printed out, this line down here will be where it's folded. So you'll have the tutorial on the front cover and then you'll have the watercolour pans on the back cover. So let me just drag my text on top. At the moment you can't really see the text, it's not working that great with the image that I've used, but a way to adjust that is to make the tutorial image or whatever image you choose to use, and this might not be how you lay out your zine. This is just an example of what I do and I hope you get a little bit of inspiration from here. But of course you can do absolutely anything you want. I hope this just gives you some ideas. I'm really keen to see the zines that you make, so do share with me the zines that you make. I'd love to see them. So in Photoshop, to make the layer slightly more transparent, we're going to go into layer, layer style, and then blending options, and we're going to adjust the opacity. So let's see what it looks like at 50% opacity. So that's maybe a little bit too transparent. We can't see the image quite so well. I just like to adjust it a few times. I think 70 will be ideal for this. You still get a good idea that it's tutorial, you can still see all the bright colours, but it's much more transparent and you'll be able to see the text a lot better, because I'll probably be putting text on my back cover as well. And for now I'm going to leave my back and front cover just how it is, and I will come back to it at the end. I like to work on the back and front cover at the end because then I have more of an idea of what the zine inside is going to be like and I can work on it a little bit better. So next step is to insert our illustrations, but we're going to be working on the top pages first. And as you can see, if I put them in like this, they'd be upside down. So we need to flip our zine so it's this way around, and we can work on pages 2, 3, 4 and 5. So to do that in Photoshop, you go to Image, Rotation, and then 180, so it's completely flipped. And then I'm going to zoom right into these pages and center them a little bit, because then it's much easier for me to see exactly where my images are going to be and I can line them up properly. So let's put in our first image together, and then I will stick this into time lapse and you can watch me put in the rest of my images from there. So let's go for the first illustration. I know what my first one's going to be because I'd already decided before sitting down. It's little Groot trying not to push the button in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm going to drag that in. It's going to be a lot bigger than the image size that we want, so we're just going to drag it to be a lot smaller. And here I don't want the image to fill up the whole piece of paper or the whole page, so I'm going to make it smaller, decide on the placement of my image, and I want to give a little bit of space so I can write the title of this drawing underneath. So that's centered, and then I just want to move it down a little bit. Perfect, that's exactly how I want it. And then a little bit of text where I can write my title, and I will resize it of course because that's massive. 10? Maybe, yeah, 10's perfect. And then I'm going to drag that underneath. Ta-da! We just made our first zine page together and it looks fantastic. So I'm going to stick this into time lapse just now and you can watch me pop in the rest of my images. It's the same process, just repeated for each page. So this is my zine come back from the printer, and I'm just going to show you how to fold a little mini zine just now so you can finish off your zines after they've printed. So my first step is to trim my edges, and I'm using my paper cutter to do this. You could use scissors, and you might not even need to do this step depending on how you've designed your zine. So first step is to fold your page lengthways, like so. And then we're gonna fold it this way, and then we're gonna flip it over, fold the pages in on themselves to the middle line, and then again with the other side. So you've got your full 4 pages on each side, folded out like this, so it makes an 8 page in total. Then we're going to fold it again on the center line, and you're going to cut your center line up to here where the middle bit is. Stopping just at the middle line. Then we're going to fold it like this so you can see a little mouth, a little diamond, whatever you think it is, and then you're going to fold it into a cross, making sure you've got your cover on the outside, and then we're just going to flatten it. And I always use a Sharpie at this point to get a nice crisp line on my fold. And that's it, we've made a zine! Ta-da! This is what it looks like when printed, and this is what it looks like when folded. Yay! We did this together! So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a mini illustrative zine with me, and I hope this has given you lots of ideas on how to showcase your portfolio of wonderful illustrations. If you've got any questions about this tutorial, do pop them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. I really hope you enjoy wandering around Swansea Zine Fest, and I hope you enjoy my little virtual table. Have a great time and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hiya, I'm doing this. I've not been well recently, so if you are not fit, I am sorry if I look a bit bedraggled and tired and full. I've not been well, just to get it done quick. Welcome to Zine Fest. I hope that you're having a good day. I hope it's all marvellous. I'll actually be away for Swansea Zine Fest at the seaside. I'm really sorry. So that means I can't join in with the quiz, which is sad. So I've been to Swansea Zine Fest twice now. Yeah, I did and really wanted to support all the Kath and Kirsty and Morgan, all the human beings. And I really hope that next year in person. So that's me to do a video, do a talk. So I will talk. And then I've pulled a few out. Kirsty asked me to talk about punk zines. And that's not something that I know loads about. So there's a few things I want to say. One is that all zines are punk. I have this thing punk that you may not necessarily think of punk. Like gardening. Gardening is punk. You're making something out of nothing. It's punk. Kirsty laughs at me because I say it all the time. So zines are punk because they're so egalitarian. Anybody can make a zine. All you need is a computer or a notebook and a printer and a photocopier. That is literally it. I don't need my zines to be any more fancy than that. In fact, the more DIY and the more like scuzzy they are, the better, in my opinion. So I wrote a zine a few years ago called Shy Punk. A bit about me being shy, and I think a lot of people wouldn't think that I am a shy person, and I quite fake it and falsely look like I'm shy at all. And because I don't look punk, I don't wear black t-shirts and black jeans and bad stuff. There's a lot of reasons for that, which I talked about in my zine, Shy Punk. Now, I don't actually have a moment, but I did write about zines and Shy in the first one. But I do have a copy of Shy Punk 2, which, have you ever made a zine in this third of an A4 paper format? Because it's so cute. The most ridiculous one to try. Hiya. I'm on my phone. I've not been well recently, so if you are not familiar with me, I am sorry if I look a bit bedraggled and tired and terrible. Well, but so I'm doing this on my phone just to get it done quickly. Welcome to Swansea Zine Fest. I hope that you're having a good day. I hope it's all marvellous. I will actually be away for Swansea Zine Fest at the seaside. I'm really sorry. Can't join in with the lunchtime, which is sad. To Swansea Zine Fest twice now. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it and really want all the founder and Kirsty and Morgan, all of whom are excellent human beings. And I really hope that next year maybe we can be in person. They asked me to do a talk, so I will talk about some of my own zines, and probably I've pulled a few out. Kirsty asked me to talk about punk zines, and that's not something that I know about. So things I want to say. One is that all zines are punk. I have this thing where I think a lot of things are punk that you may not necessarily think are punk, like gardening. It's punk. Maybe because I say this all the time. So zines are punk because they're so egalitarian. Anybody can make a zine, a computer or a notebook and a pen and a printer and copier and a glue stick. Like, that is literally it. I don't need my zines to be any more fancy than that. In fact, the more DIY and the more like scuzzy they are, the better, in my opinion. So I wrote a zine a few years ago called Shy Punk, which was a bit about me being shy, and I think I wouldn't think that I am a shy person, and I kind of fake it, cover it up and falsely look like I'm not shy at all. And because I don't look, I don't wear, you know, black t-shirts and black jeans and bandanas and stuff, and there's a lot of reasons for that, which I talked about in my zine. Now, I don't actually have any Shy Punk left at the moment, but I did write about zines and shyness in the first one. But I do have a copy of Shy Punk 2, which is third of an A4 paper format because it's so cute, but it's also the most ridiculous one to try and collate. So I talk about things that I do think are punk. What's in this one? Let's Emmy the Great. She's a musician. If you don't know her, she's great. Love her. And I've loved her for a big fan of Emmy the Great. Treating people with kindness, which is a Harry Styles thing. He has a thing about treating people with kindness. And then libraries. Libraries are punk. How punk is a library? And I've had a load of things that aren't punk. I've talked about abuse. I've talked about Ryan Adams, who used to cute, you know, nerdy, that he abuses women, so we don't have. So yeah, that's my per zine is called Opinion. It's everybody. I still have issues of that. I think I'm on like 15 or 16. I can't remember, but I do have like special editions of a zine that I do, so that's one of them. Talk about is London Calling, which is obviously the seminal Clash album. It turned 40 in 2019, so I wrote this zine about it as a celebration. I do want to write a zine and about how much I love them and about how much I've loved them for like 20 odd years at this point, but I can't cope with how big it is. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I wrote about the album, and my favourite songs were Why I Love It and all things. Bands, It's Over Crack. Bands that went out with each other, so they all formed other bands. to be spiteful. So it's a song of theirs called The Crack. And the joke is, of course, leftover crack. That's that. So I wrote about gigs I've seen, albums that I've liked, the fact that they are now kind of terrible, the fact that Scott's kind of disappeared up his own ass. My friend Ezra, who used to be in Leftover Crack, is now in Morning Glory and once told me that he liked my dress. So those are my punk zines. I do also have a Manic Street Preacher zine, where a punk back in the day. So who have I pulled out? I pulled out Scratch That Itch by Kathleen 5, and this is about driving bands around in. So that is very. She also has a great Agua something, which is about her time involved on the US-Mexico border, where volunteers leave water so that people trying to cross the border don't die. That is an excellent zine, but so is this. Like this lot. And it's also bound like that, which is cute. Zero Waste Wannabe.
Hello Swansea Zine Fest. This is a video that I'm going to make about different kinds of zine bindings that I have seen in my collecting zines over the last decade or so. The reason I made this video is because since the pandemic begun, there has been a lot of online zine making videos, which has been great, but they have all been demonstrating the one standard binding that I think we're quite used to by now. You've got the A4 piece of paper with the slit in the middle. It's referred to as a 6 or 8 page zine. And they're very good, they're very easy to copy, very easy to produce lots of copies of, but I think we can do better than that. I really enjoy bookbinding. I really enjoy collecting zines that have got different kinds of binding within them, and I thought I'd show you a few different ideas of those today. So the first one I'm going to give you an example of, which is a very classic zine making technique, is called the pamphleteer stitch. Get that back in focus. So what it is you've got the needle coming through 3 different points within the paper and forming a bow or a knot on either the inside or the outside. So you've just got the 3 points of entry there and you just come through. The reason I like this is because we've got historical documentation of this stitch going back absolutely hundreds and hundreds of years to be used by people who are publishing their small ideas to get things printed in a cheap manner and stitch them together. So I really like doing that. The other classical method we've got is stapling, which you still see in quite a lot of places. I really like this one because I reckon that is the most number of pages that you could possibly fit staples through and still get them to go through. So I thought this was quite a good example of stapling. If we move on to some more unusual things, here's a little one-off zine that was made by a friend of mine in the post. And this one you can see is held together by a single safety pin. The theme of it is a punk group that we're both in, and I just really love the idea of holding stuff together with safety pins. I think we should do more of that. This is a great little zine. Lots of little pockets going on in it. Lots of little things hidden in it. Really delightful, but perhaps a little bit harder to produce. Might not be though. This one here, this has got star hole punches through 2 little sides here, and then it's just held together with a bit of yarn. And that kind of leads me on to more yarn-based binding. So I've got these guys here, just folded in half, just